Hello my convicts and convicts. Yes, it is I, the Kappa Convict, bringing you guys and gals another tech video. So I thought I'd do a tech video and we'll do a gameplay tomorrow. So without further ado, let's get it on. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about if I can actually fit it underneath there because I've got it stuck, the Nacon Revolution Pro controller once again. But today we're going to talk about how to find your best sensitivity using the Nacon and where to start out and what to look for when you want to improve your gameplays and obviously have the best sensitivity without waiting for everyone or trolling through video after video after video trying to use other people's setups to try and get the best sensitivity. So here we go, let's get into it and let's have a look. So I'm going to shrink me down here and we're going to bring up the page that we need in order to do this. So as you all know, I am on the Nacon Revolution Pro controller version 1. So if you are on Pro version 2, you can still follow this along, but you will only be able to obviously do it for such as the right thumbstick. It won't include left thumbstick, only just the right thumbstick on there. And you can try out these sensitivities for yourself as well. So here we go. So this is the Nacon Revolution Pro app. I've got my controller obviously connected to my PC already. As you can see here, I've still got my Control Freak on there. I'm actually finding that Control Freak better than the extension one. So I definitely recommend that you get the Omni ones if you want to have really good grip and obviously control over what you're doing on regards to your controller. Anyway, it's not about that today. It's about how to set up. So when you first get your controller and you first open up the right joystick, these will be your default values. When I go back to default, got how to do that now, reset. There we go. Don't know how I forgot how to do that, but yeah. So I believe that this is the blue mode. When you've got it in blue mode, this is the kind of sensitivity that you're looking at. It's 33, 33 and 34. These are the sensitivities it's set to. And as you can see here, the response curve is literally the same all the way along, depending on obviously how you're playing. Now, one of the big things here also is about the radius. It's set to 0. So 0 means that as soon as you start to slightly move your thumbstick, just the ever so slightly, it will then start to respond to obviously what you're doing on your game. So the best way to start out with this is to play about 10-15 games with the sensitivity and find out how you feel about it. Go through your game. So let's use an example, Black Ops 4. Start off at a sensitivity in that game of 4/4 and then adjust it accordingly until you get to a point where you feel like you're at the perfect sensitivity, but it's just not quite right. So maybe you want to play it over 6/6, but you feel that that's too much and you're missing more shots than anything, then this video is for you. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, for instance, give you an example that it's 6/6. Then you can look at these sensitivities and look at where the problem lies. Now mainly for me it's this, it's the medium sensitivities. That's my main Achilles heel in many games. I found that being precise is really good, but when people sort of like do that jump and you're trying to track them, sometimes the medium puts you off a little bit, and that's where I normally get killed, if anything, apart from the stupid reloading and all the other stupid stuff I normally do in game, or not predicting the spawns correctly and they come behind me and shoot me in the back, or the spawn behind me and shoot me in the back. So there's a multitude of different things that will obviously get you killed in Black Ops, but maybe this will help you if they're coming at you to be a little bit more aggressive and know that you can be more precise on what they can be and get in those kills. So let's talk a little bit about the radius. So normally with the radius obviously set to 0. Now these equate all round to obviously between 1 and 98, so it has to equal 100. This can never be like 1 1 1. It will never work because Nacon said it has to equal 100, otherwise the device wouldn't function and it won't work correctly. So it has to be equaling up to 100 at least. So there's always going to be some sensitivity you might have to endure a little bit, but use the other sensitivities to obviously get to the perfect path that you want it at. Now the big, normally for me, I can normally have the big really, really responsive on here. So if I change that padlock over and go for like the really responsive, which is 1, so as soon as I hit into that area, I'll be instantly turning around. Now the problem is that I've always known, obviously since the dev had Nacon, is how do we know where the small, the medium, and the large is on the radius of your controller? So how do we know that that is small, that is medium, and that is large? You know, because there's no actual indicator, there's nothing within the app itself that will actually display that. Now, because I've had the Nacon for such a long time, since the actual launch, I feel like I've gathered the experience and the knowledge to know roughly where it is. So generally for me, I think the small movements when it comes to this is actually set around about here. In between them, that's small movement. So from the very, very middle to that little green line, that is where the small movements are. So that's when you're just slightly moving the controller for those long distance engagements and you're just slightly making minute adjustments. That's your small. That's where I think the small ends, and obviously the middle center you can't see is where it starts. So 0 is where it starts from, and then 5 is where it ends. That's the outer edge and not the inner edge of where small is. Now for medium, I feel that the medium is actually set more up to this kind of scale, and that is where medium movements are. So your medium there is anything in between, anything obviously not counting the 5, which is for the small, but anything from that would be the medium movement. So anything after the small, that tiny minute adjustment to then into medium, and then obviously the last area, this area in between here, would be your large area. Now I don't know why, they could have easily color coded this and had like the light blue for the small, the green for the medium, and the red for the large to indicate and show exactly where it is, or have another box somewhere so you knew exactly where. So when you actually move this, it would actually move a little dot around, and you'd know if you were in the small, the medium, or the large movements to know which one needs to be adjusted. Now this is how I feel they are positioned myself through all the time that I've played the game, and obviously all the adjustments I've made to the game and all the videos I've put out on it. I feel that's how it is at the moment. So 70 is medium, that is the large, and then obviously down to 5 is where I feel is where it is at for the small movements. So obviously the dot in the middle up to this edge is where the small movements start and end, and then obviously 70 where the medium ends, and then obviously beyond that is large. So play the game 10-15 times, and then what I would suggest to you then is, once you've found that sensitivity you want to be at, you want to then start to tweak the program itself. I do apologize, I've got a bit of a cold, a bit of a blocked nose, so my voice will be a little bit so I do apologize. So once you've found the sensitivity that you want, then you need to make adjustments here. What we need to do is play a couple of games and then go, okay, what am I missing? Am I missing those really long shots where I'm supposed to be hitting the guy in the back? Am I too slow getting to him, or am I too is it too fast getting to him? Now what you need to do, if it's too slow, you want to move it down. If it's too fast, you want to move it up, because obviously moving it up means that it has longer distance to travel within the small area, and then moving it down means obviously the more responsive or the more faster it's going to be to move to that area. So it's going to respond instantly as you press it. It's going to be zoop and move to that area where it is, obviously the lower it is. If you go down to something stupid like 5, you would literally be like this all the time, literally like this. It'd be that responsive, you won't stop, you'd never stop, the mouse, your cursor would just be constantly moving on the screen all the time, it would never stop. So I don't recommend going that low. The lowest I've ever gone myself, and kind of felt a little bit of that kind of movement, but it's not been too bad, it's 15. So 15's been the lowest I've ever gone to on there. I always keep my radius at 0 when I actually play on this. Don't forget to save as well each time you do this if you want to keep this and test it, and then activate profiles afterwards. So choose obviously what your small is. Then your medium, like I said, my main offender is medium movement. So what I tend to have mine between is 40 up to around about 60. Between 40 and 60. Just remember, if you have it around about 60, it's going to give you obviously more joystick travel. But it depends how you want to play the game. I find around 60 is really good for hip fire. So if you're the kind of person who absolutely loves, such as a Spitfire, and you want to be able to just hip fire everybody, then around about 60 is where you want to be for medium. I've tried it, it's nuts. You literally, you can kill people so easy. The only problem is obviously you have to think, if you're doing that obviously you need to have the small adjusted enough so you can pull back if you need to in order to get kills in. But remember, if you're on 60, the medium movements are going to be slower, so it means that it's going to take less response, but it's going to feel more controlled in what you're trying to do as a hip fire. But if you're trying to obviously quickly turn to shoot someone, it's going to be slower. So you want to be on a higher sensitivity of around about 7, maybe even 8. Use that kind of thing on medium. Now if you use around about 40, I would probably say around about, you want to be around about a 5 or a 6. I'd probably say about 4, 5 or 6. Probably 4 or 5 I would suggest, if you're going to have it around about 40, because it is still as responsive as it would be as its default setting. And obviously you don't want to be having it too responsive that you can't physically control it. And I've seen Black Ops 4 and how it plays so much different to Black Ops 3. You definitely want to be wary of that. Now I'm using Black Ops 3 as an example, but for instance, if you wanted to play Fortnite, I definitely recommend around about a 50 or a 60, especially for medium. 15, 20 I would suggest, and then obviously whatever that lands at, just leave it as it is, which obviously Bink has gone to 20, so it means turning around is pretty fast. Just remember, obviously the transition between medium and large is going to affect obviously what you're doing. So once you hit here, you're going to then go into 20, so you're going to have a nice control movement up to that point, and then it's going to go a little bit faster. Obviously go as fast as the small movement when it comes to turning around and stuff like that. So just be wary of where they are. Like I said on here, this is an example of where it would be. So it would start from 5 being there up to about here, and then you would go into 20. So you're going from 20 to 60, and then from 60 to 20. So do be aware, get used to that, because sometimes I've had people, obviously when I've done my setup, and I've done crazy setups for, such as like Blackout, so you could keep your accuracy on, people will get in a little bit put off by it because of the big were really low. I think it was on a 1 or 5, so that meant once you got past the medium setting, it was like it's like you spin around really quick because it's so responsive. As soon as you go to that big, you're like turn around sort of thing. So try and figure out where it is in between where you want it to be on there. What I would also suggest as well is go to each profile. Now what I was doing before is I was actually going through this and thinking, okay, what I'll do, I'll make that 40 40 20, then we'll make that 30 30 40, we'll make that one to be 20 20 60, and then make that one to be something outrageous, say 49 50 and 1, something like that, just as an example on there. Then make sure obviously you save each time you do it, make sure it saves, then go and press the home button, make sure you activate profiles so it loads the profiles to your controller, then just go through it again, just double check they have all stayed the same, which I have done, and then go test it out, and then go try each one, find out which one's best or which one you feel more suited to, and then sort of tweak that where you feel that you're not getting to people as fast, or maybe your hip fire is just a little bit too high still, so you want to lower it down. Just remember that the lower you go with the value, the more responsive it is. the further away you go, like 40, the less responsive it is, but the more sort of feeling of control over it. But just remember, obviously, it's going to take just a little bit more travel in your joystick to get to people. So you have to kind of like figure out the even between the Stevens on there. So that's what I would suggest to do, is do each profile, play that one particular game. Once you've found one, obviously tweak it a little bit. Once you've found one of those other profiles, like I've said, set 1 to 30, 1 to 40, 1 to 50, or however you want to do it, and then try them out, and then trial and error them until you get to a point that you know, this one's working for me. Profile 4 is working for me. Profile 3 was a bit too quick. Profile 2, just insane. Profile 1, I don't even know what I was thinking. You know, or maybe you've got it on really, really high, like I've got it on here, where the, not that one. Which one is it? That one. And you find that's far too slow. You're like, whoa, that was way too slow. And maybe I should bring that one down a little bit. And obviously you can do whatever you wanted to do on there. So that's what I'd suggest. Go from the first profile, start around about a 40-40, then go to 30-30, then go to 20-20, and then you could just do an outrageous like experimental one like I've done here, just to sort of see how that will play out. Or completely up to you. You could do it such as like, if you want to keep it even, have it as 49, 49 and 2, and have it that way. And then obviously again save, activate profiles, and try that out. Now another thing I want to talk a little bit about is macros. Macros, I would suggest not to use these. Epic have said that obviously it's cheating if you use macros, so they will ban people for using macros. To be honest, with version 1 of Nacon, they didn't really fix the macros. They never did. They never brought an update on there. And I'm on the current update of 1.59, which has always been the last update they ever did before they brought out version 2. And they are bringing out version 3. Yes, there's going to be a wireless version of the Nacon coming out, version number 3. So I don't know how that's going to play out, but okay. Make sure you got the latest version. Obviously just check on there, just make sure it says that this is the latest firmware. I always have that pulsing as off. The backlight, I always have it up to the top, up to the brightest on there. Generally I have this off because when you hold mode in, you don't want, especially blue mode, to be flashing on and off, and it confuses you and you're thinking, oh, I've got it, it's accidentally waiting for me to input a macro, or to input one of the M buttons on the back, and it's not, it's just flashing on and off. I think it just works for red mode, to be honest, anyway, because it's showing red mode here. I always keep the rumble down to lowest so it doesn't interfere. Even if vibration is on in game, it won't vibrate the controller. The controller won't vibrate. That covers that. So once you've done that, obviously you can come out of there. Mappings, this is what I'm using for mappings at the moment. Always make sure that your button on the front matches the macro on the back. By doing that, all you need to do is just click on it and it'll show you where it is. As you can see, if I turn my controller obviously away from you there, so M1 is that one there. That is M1. That's M2. Now obviously mine's mirrored on there, but if you follow the ones on here, you can actually find out where they are. As you can see, my right hand side, because I'm right handed, so my right hand little corner piece is what makes me jump on there. So circle is on the opposite side on my left side, if I was to hold my controller like that. X is there, circle's there, and I've got triangle there and square on that side, is how I normally have mine. Obviously it'll be mirrored for you, so it'll be the opposite way around, facing you. But just remember, if you're holding your controller, my X is on my right hand side, so you always remember, if you're holding your controller towards you, if you want to know which my button X is mapped to, it's that right corner piece on your controller. This is mirrored this webcam, so it will be probably showing you the opposite side, but always remember, I'm right handed, so it's my right hand that makes me jump. Right, so we've covered that area on triggers. Now I've done this, I've changed it like this. A lot of people were saying to me before that apparently it was not working, or there was a delay in response to me pulling my triggers, because I used to actually have mine up here. like that, 33%. Now people say no, that's wrong because that means that this area isn't covered. So when there's a dead zone here, and I'm literally creating more of a dead zone because obviously it has to start from there to go to there, but you've obviously stopped it from doing that. So it'll only respond as it gets to this point. So I changed it around obviously to make 0% up to 50%. So they act like trigger stops. So I'm able to obviously press and release, and it'll instantly aim and then instantly release as I need it to. Real shortcuts I have on, obviously backlight on. Macros I have off because I don't use them. Vibration, like I said, it keeps on turning vibration to on. I don't know why, but because it's obviously down here and it's set off, it won't work anyway. So it can't physically turn on vibration anyway in the controller. So don't worry about it if it keeps doing that for you. Just ignore it, because as long as you've got it switched off here in general settings, it won't physically use your vibration in the controller anyway on there. So yeah, that's the best way I could suggest, is once you go into it, obviously make sure that you check all the different settings on there. Make sure that you've got the radius set to 0 if you like it like that. If you feel that even with all the settings and all the changes you've made to these and to everything else, you're still struggling with a certain area such as like your small, then you could obviously increase this to help reduce that as well. So don't forget, if you get to a point of these being where you want but the small's just not quite where you want it to, maybe adding an extra radius will help you out to improve on that. Because I know in the past when I've done setups and I've done the setup that feels really good, but the small just didn't quite fit, or the medium or the large, or there was an area within it, I used to add a slight little bit of a radius to sort of help sort of dominate on that, or to reduce that, so it would make it easier in order to use the controller. So that's my option for you today. Start off at 33, 33, 34, so just make sure you put reset. Start on there and try it out. Then once you've found it, set up 4 profiles using 30, 40, 50, and maybe a crazy one like I've done as well on here, which is like 49, 49 and 2, and see what's best for you, and then just sort of tweak it a little bit. Find the sensitivity that you want to be on during the game. So if you want to be on a high sensitivity for like Black Ops 4, choose that high sensitivity, play it a little bit, get used to it, then tweak it, pull it down a little bit. And like again I said on here, your small is around about 5, your medium's going to go all the way up to around about 70, and then your large is going to be this area in between here. So that's where you want to be aiming when you decide to choose whether or not it's your small, your medium area that's the problem, or if it is in fact your large that's the problem on there. And that's the best way to do it. That's normally how I generally go through it, to try and find the best sensitivity for either Black Ops or for Fortnite, especially like Fortnite, because I like to try and keep control. Because don't forget, when you're not aiming down sight in Fortnite, you get no aim assist. So having that control over your hip fire will make your engagements, when it comes to those bits where you want to hip fire, just spray them with the hip fire to shotgunning, then obviously you can put it so you can be more controlled and have more response, because it's taking a longer distance to travel. It feels more fine-tuned. It's like as if you're doing the small movement but within the medium area, and you can literally guide it very, very slowly across to hit all those shots that you want, and obviously get those kills in or get those shotgun shots in. That could be life or death situation. So definitely try it out and see what you think. Choose the sensitivity that you want to try and start off at. So first of all, starting game, choose a sensitivity that you want. Then once you've got to that sensitivity, then you can decide where you want to adjust the settings to try and get it in there. I know it sounds a little bit long-winded, this video, but it's kind of to give you an idea where to start and how to start to set up your best sensitivity. Now, if you do get a sensitivity for Black Ops 4 or Fortnite that you think is absolutely godly, let me know. All you have to do is send me the settings that you are playing with inside the game, and then send me the settings that you are doing for the Nacon. So if you're on version 2, just send me the right hand side settings that you're doing for the right thumbstick, obviously this one, and I'll try it out. And if it's really, really good, then obviously I may do a future video using your setting and see if Kappa can actually get a win with your individual settings. So all you need to do is let me know your in-game settings for either Black Ops or Fortnite or for any of the games that I have, and then let me know what the right hand side buttons sensitivities are for the small, the medium, the big, what radius you're using, if you're using low or high sensitivity, and I'll try it out. So there you go. Hopefully you have enjoyed this video. It's just to give you an idea of how to set up your Nacon to start to go through the different responses till you find that even between the Stevens and get the best response out of your controller. Hopefully give you the best response, because obviously everyone plays a little bit different. Everyone struggles with a different area, whether it's trying to get those precision shots on someone to either hip firing, anything like that. So let me know, like I said, in-game settings and then the Nacon right thumbstick settings as well, and I will try it out. So hey, there you go. Hopefully you've enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to hit that like, subscribe if you're new, tap that notification bell to be notified of all my videos, and you truly can be one of Kappa's convicts, or if you're a lady, a convicette. So you know it is I, the Kappa Convict. I'm signing out, and as always, I salute you, my convicts and convicts, and I'll see you soon in some more gameplays and reviews, vlogs, all that good stuff. Bye for now.